Dear students, we are here for that next lecture of our syllabus, which is regarding chapter number 10. That chapter number 10 is trade. Trade is essentially foreign trade, and it's very cardinal to your syllabus in such a way that whatever we have studied earlier in the chapter number 7, 8, and 9, it will now be implemented over there in this chapter in such a way that especially in industry we have studied about the various types of goods that is manufactured over there, maybe primary, maybe secondary or tertiary goods are there. So all these goods have an access to market, and function of the market is to so these goods may be in any types are there to cater for the needs of population of an area. Why this trade is needed? This trade is needed so that in an area the things which are deficient, so these things are provided from the either from the land, from the agriculture, from engineering sector, from wherever you can use your local resources. So by the use of local resources, you produce these things. But in some cases, your environment is not such like which can produce such things which are needed in your country. So these things you have to buy. For example, our country that is deficient in crude oil, that may be deficient in that edible oil or such things which are quite cardinal for our manufacturing sector. But without this, our manufacturing sector cannot work. So that is how we have to import these things. And in another way, our community, our country is an agrarian country. So most of our products, they are related to the basic or the primary sector, related to five main domains. First, agriculture, then mineral resources, then it can be fisheries, it can be livestock, it can be forest resources. So all these things which are extracted from nature, they make up that basic goods or the primary goods. However, this picture had been just earlier about 30 years old. By 1980s, this was the picture. But later on, this picture changed in such a way like we shifted over to an industrial community in such a way that with the inroad of the machinery, with the inroad of the technology in our country, so we were able enough to process these goods. So after processing all this basic goods or basic material or primary goods, we were able enough to improve our manufacturing sector or processing sectors. So earlier, our most of the trade was based on the primary goods, so that more than 57% trade that comprised of basic goods, and about 43% was about processed goods or the manufactured goods. However, the picture has changed right now. We are now exporting just 17% of the primary goods, and Alhamdulillah, now about 48% that is our consumer goods or the manufactured goods. And you can say some services are also there. So these services in foreign countries, uh, more than 2 million of the people are working over there. So these 2 million people are working in that tertiary sector in such a way they are providing the high value added services over there. However, if we talk about that raw labor, so that raw labor accounts for more than 80% of our entire labor which is working over there in the foreign countries. So where our goods, they are not able enough to compete the market as far the exports are concerned. So we have got that remittances, and sometimes these remittances are more than the uh, goods to be traded. So in that way, both ways we are benefited. However, we have got a lot of talent, a lot of potential which is to be further developed. So further on, if we are giving more attention to our educational sector or the training sector, so in that way we'll be able enough to provide the value-added services and value-added goods also. So if we are changing these primary goods to manufactured goods or the consumer goods, so in that way we'll be better off to earn more and more from there. So better foreign exchange will be there, better GNP and GDP can be there, and in that we will be able enough to provide better job opportunities for the people here. And as for these capital goods are there, so we people are not able enough to produce these capital goods yet. However, at some 5-6% we are providing, but much of that need is to be catered from the other countries. Like we have to import that IT, all that IT equipment, all that electronics, electrical goods, and then medical equipment is there, then machinery, sophisticated machinery is there. As far the transportation is concerned, cars are there, then buses are there. So all that equipment is to be brought from other countries, that we buy from other countries, and you know that a huge amount, or even you can say just one complete container of that raw material can be equal to just the cost of one sophisticated Android mobile phone. So this is what we can equate like that, the work we are doing and the work they are doing. So they are providing us this high valued services, and we are providing them the basic goods, or to an extent these processed or manufactured goods, but still we are lagging behind in our foreign exchange. That much of our foreign exchange is spent in these high valued goods, and whatever we earn from the primary and processed goods, that cannot equate for our import. So this scenario leads us towards that negative balance of payment, or the negative balance of. As a result of the above discussion, all we have discussed up till right now, we have come to the point of determining the balance of trade. So this balance of trade is to be determined with this formula. Balance of trade is equal to value of exports minus value of imports. So it's mainly value, not the bulk or the number of exports. Maybe we have bulk of export, but this bulk of export is mainly of primary goods or low value goods, and the bulk of import may be lesser than that, but still its value is high, because these goods are comprising of the high value added goods. So this is why we need to write over here value. However, with one difference, like when we have to find the balance of payment, it's different from that balance of trade. Difference in such a way, like this value of export, value of import, it's physical trade, in fact, physical trade of goods. But when we have to add up over there the remittances, so it makes up that balance of payments. Now what are these remittances? These remittances are in fact the foreign exchange and through the services. Our people who are working over there in the foreign countries, they are serving over there, they are getting the salaries, they are getting the remunerations from there, and they are sending these salaries, this foreign exchange, in the form of dollars or euro or real or any foreign currency into Pakistan. And Pakistani banks, they are giving or paying back these international currency into the local currency to their families. So the net amount of this foreign currency that is added up into your foreign exchange with the reserve banks, with the state bank. So So in that way, our reserves of the foreign exchange that improve. And as per the earlier discussion has shown, more than sometimes more than that physical exports or import or the physical trade that is from the remittances. More foreign exchange from remittances than from this physical trade. And the scenario right now, it has shown like it has surpassed, that remittances have surpassed that physical trade, because our physical trade has been on decline. We haven't been able to increase our exports. We haven't been able to have a check on our imports. So this is why, if we depend only on that physical trade, we will be far more in negative balance of payment if we are not adding up these remittances over here. So this is the main difference. Same formula is there, balance of trade, but when we add remittances, it makes a balance of payments. So this is in fact the first lab of this chapter, which tells about the categories of goods, the type of imports, the type of exports, and also the bulk of our trade and the expansion of our trade with number of countries. But it has shown that our trade is just limited to some primary goods and a little more than of some consumer goods, which we are exporting just recently right now. As for our negative balance of payment is concerned, this can be recovered in many ways. For example, this negativity that can be covered in many ways, like improve our manufacturing unit, improve manufacturing sector, have check on imports, shift towards industrialization. There may be many further steps ushering out from these main points, but mainly these points are there, that we need to improve our manufacturing sector. Instead of sending our primary goods, we should process them in Pakistan so that they turn into value-added goods. Secondly, we have to have a strict check on imports. We need to curtail the imports of the luxury goods or the consumer goods that we can process in Pakistan. Then we need to shift towards that industrialization, that EPZs or industrial processing zones, industrial states, and good industrial policies have to be adopted. Some incentives have to be given to the industrialists so that we can improve on these issues. Then we need to improve our mining sector so that we need not import the minerals from other countries for processing over here. We need to have a good check on our agriculture, on our primary sector, so that we are producing that raw material locally, not imported from other countries, especially that of edible oil, that mineral oil, natural gas, or even we need to develop some such ways that we generate our own electricity locally, so that we need to avoid these expensive ways of generating of electricity and spending our foreign exchange. So we need to save our foreign exchange by taking these steps so that the negativity can be improved to a certain extent. So this is our first lecture about the types of goods, the imports, exports, then balance of trade, balance of payment. Further on, we will have a discussion on that advantages of this trade and what physical steps can be there to improve this trade, and also especially how we can shift from that agrarian or basic sort of community to a tertiary sort of sector or manufacturing sector. So in the next lecture, I'll conclude my debate on all these issues, and I'll further reiterate these issues as well. And after completing, I'll upload that activity as well. By this time, whatever the queries are there, whatever the questions are there, you may send me these questions to my email, to my WhatsApp number, so that I can answer these questions and prepare this chapter. At least first 5 pages of this chapter have to be prepared, and whatever the queries are there, you may be asked. I'll wrap up all this chapter in the next lecture, and in that way we will be shifting over to the discussion of our past papers versus. Well, stay blessed, Allah Hafiz, and prepare for the next.